The following is a Candlepin Stars and Strikes rebroadcast featuring some of our most memorable programs.
Stars and Strikes doubles. From Park Place Lanes in Windham, featuring outstanding Candlepin bowlers from all over New England. Stars and Strikes doubles is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
And welcome back to Park Place Lanes in Windham, everybody. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy back with you on Championship Week. Stars and Strikes doubles coming up for you now. Tom Morgan has just beaten Steve Vadney to move into the singles tournament of champions, and now we've got two other bowlers waiting to move into it as well in doubles competition.
It should be a great one. Larry and Timmy bowled exceptionally well last week, hitting over 400. And if they duplicate that this week, they're liable to be there too.
All right, let's introduce all the bowlers. Our top two-seeded teams will square off for the championship in this series. Going for their second win in a row, our number two-seeded team is Tim Lipke from Londonderry, New Hampshire, and his partner from Newport, Larry Valcourt.
Okay, Timmy comes in averaging 130. His roll-off score 720. He was the number one seeded player in that roll-off. Larry Valcourt averaging 124. His roll-off score at 666.
And last week, as you mentioned, Dan, they bowled very, very well, very consistent. A 401 was their three-string total as they knocked off Bob Mazur and Glenn LeBlanc. And today they try and make it two in a row and win the championship, but they're going to have to beat the number one seeded team to do it. From Haverhill, Mass, Norm Bourque, and his partner from Hillsborough, New Hampshire, Ed Emerson.
Okay, and Norm had a great five-string roll-off score at 719, and Ed Emerson was at 668.
All right, now the runner-up team in this match will split $400. The winners will split $800, and more importantly, the winners will automatically qualify for the Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions, which is coming up in just a few weeks. So we're going to bowl three strings of doubles competition to decide our champion, and we're going to get this match started right after we take a break. So don't go away. Well, we are left with our top two-seeded teams to decide this championship. One of these teams will go on to play in the Tournament of Champions, which is coming up in just a few weeks. Tim Lipke and Larry Valcourt with that 401 last week knocked off Bob Mazur and Glenn LeBlanc, who'd come up from the bottom to win two matches. So now it's Lipke and Valcourt against Norm Bourque and Ed Emerson. We are left with this matchup to decide the fifth team that will go into the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, and we'll go over the teams that are already qualified a little later on. Tim Lipke, first ball is a strike.
Well, it's getting rid of the cobwebs in a hurry.
Last week, Tim and Larry threw 4 strikes in their match. They had 14 marks overall for their 401. Just barely skipping by the head pin on that ball.
You know, actually, I think he did touch that head pin.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
They say all you have to do is hit him. Goes that theory.
The 1 and the 10 for a spare. Right there. Strike spare for Tim Lipke to start it.
Ball stays in play, off the head pin into the 10 for spare on strike. 2 boxes, 2 marks.
And now here is Ed Emerson. Now both Ed Emerson and his partner Norm Bourque have been here before, but it's been a little while for both of them. It's been a long while, actually, for
Hey, nice
Ed
shot
Emerson,
by Ed
but
Emerson.
He hasn't forgotten how to do it, though. There's a spare in the first.
Plays it off the wood. Gets the wood moving both directions. Clears the rest of the pins away for the spare.
I think Ed is probably the first bowler ever on our show that has declined to throw any warm-ups on the TV pair before we begin the show.
We started going through the rule book, whether that was legal. You had to throw, but you don't. Even his partner asked him, you sure don't want to throw a warm-up?
Ed was here last in 1988, January of 88, when he lost to Brian Fuller. Prior to that, he was here in December of 1984 when he beat Bob Dicker in singles and then lost to Peter Surratt. So it's been more than 4 years for Ed Emerson.
Larry Valcourt will fill the spare put up by his partner Tim Lipke in the second.
And Larry bounced that one a little bit, lost it to the right, a 4 fill. Remember, not only the win in this show is important, but the total score is important as well, because the winning team will determine their seed into the Tournament of Champions by their 3-string total. And right now the score to shoot at is a whopping 448 by Gary Carrington and Jack Ray. Larry Valcourt off to the right again.
4 horsemen plus the 8-pin in the back. Piece of wood in between the 2 and the 4.
So it'll be 2 opens for Larry Valcourt. $10, 52 through 4. And as Larry takes a seat, we will get our first look of the day at Norm Bourque. Norm was here a couple of years ago in singles competition. He beat Dan Broder back in January of 1990. The following week he lost a close match to Bob Kelly. And Norm is right on the head pin, dropping 9 and leaving the 4. For the spare. He's got it.
No doubt about that one. So his debut was quite nice with a mark in the 3rd. Move to lane 31 and fill that spare.
And I think most guys, even the veterans, would probably tell you that on TV, that first spare you want to shoot at is probably not a single pin.
Unless there's a plank in front of it.
Right. The 189. 7 drop, and that piece of wood in front appears to be well in play. Joe Paglia takes a look and says it is. Shouldn't be a factor, I don't think.
It may keep the second piece behind the head pin in play.
No!
Good shot. 189.
Using that wood. Actually, the wood just went out of the way. The ball took the 8-pin, and the
head pin took this 9, I think.
Yep. Back to Tim Lipke, and through the middle for the spread eagle. Tim Lipke was another member of that New Hampshire-dominated team that went up and won the World's Championship in Sydney, Nova Scotia back in November. Tim, along with Steve Vadnais, Mike Poulin, Brian Uphold, Bill Gover, and John Thomas, won the 1991 Worlds. 8 for Tim, a 60 half for the team. Ray Souza and all the fine people at 1,400 Motors in Nashua and Lowell, the participating sponsors for this series on Stars and Strikes doubles. 1,400 Motors, 1 great name, 2 convenient locations in Nashua and Lowell.
Tough spare. That wood could cost him this shot.
Almost came back to get it.
Had the right idea. Had to play it to the far right and just clip the 3-pin going by. But just missed the 3-pin altogether. Now Ed Emerson will fill the mark put up by his partner in the 4th. That mark being a spare. Right in there. Well, 4-5-7.
Gives his team the lead by 1. Let's see. Tried to bounce it off the wall. The 5-pin is still there. I believe I said Ed Emerson was in was from Hillsborough. He actually works in Hillsborough as the owner of the B&L Bowling Center, but he lives in Henniker. Ed is from Henniker, New Hampshire. He and his wife Diane have 2 children, 9-year-old Travis and 3-year-old Corey. And Ed misfired on that one. He turned away as soon as he let it go.
Still holds the lead by 1, 71-70, as you see, through 6 completed frames. Game number 1, championship week. One of these teams will qualify for the Tournament of Champions.
And the team that doesn't qualify will have one more shot. One more shot in singles and one in doubles. We'll be beginning our last regular 4-week series on both shows starting next Sunday at 12 noon. As of right now, we don't know who the bowlers will be, but it'll be the last chance for both groups to get into the Tournament of Champions for this season. 10 for Larry. So now in this series we have, or in this match I should say, we have 3 out of the 4 participants who are either lane owners or managers. And a strike for Larry Valcourt.
Got the nice roll against the 9-pin. Drops 9 very quickly here. Leaves just a 9-pin. Finally a piece of wood rolls back and knocks the 9-pin down for the strike.
Norm Bourque on the head pin. He'll shoot at the 2-4-7.
Tough piece of wood. Actually, there are 2, so the second piece could keep the front one in play a little longer for him. Oh.
Ten, keeping the 1-pin lead, but now they are opposite a strike in the 8th. Spins one into the pocket, and what a thin hit that was.
Boy, it looked like he was pretty well in the 1-3 pocket, but he hasn't got much to show for it. 4, 5, 7, 8, and 10.
And Norm will have to take a 6. So 87 through 8. And this is a dangerous spot right here for the team of Lipke and Valcourt, as Tim Lipke comes up working on a strike. And of course, very capable of making it 2 in a row. The team already with the lead, and there it is. I don't know, I just had a feeling.
Look at like a solid 9-pin drop with a 5-pin, then something clips the 5 from behind for the double strike.
Well, this is where Tim Lipke can be so dangerous. He's very capable of putting the strikes together. That time, just a 6 hit.
Going to go after the 2-4-7. Trying for the fill of 9, possibly cutting it over. It's going to be an 8 fill on the second strike, but I'm going to turn a so-so game into a very decent one.
.132, make it 133. It's getting better all the time.
Ed Emerson up for his final 2 of this game, 87 through 8. Would really like a couple marks just to keep it close.
Is that 7-pin going to go over? It looks like it's partly over.
Gets pushed a little bit, tipped a little bit, and the wood is holding it up.
And it's still there. $9. Well, I'm sure Ed would like nothing more than to fire 20 here in the 10th.
I'm going to go from 1 pin ahead after 7 frames to 28 pins behind now, with 1 box remaining.
Good run at it. Leaves the 8 and 10. So Tim Lipke and Larry Valcourt, as they did last week, are going to have a sizable lead at the end of one game. 133 to 105. 2 games to go to decide the championship, and we'll be back on Stars and Strikes Doubles in a minute. Here are the 4 teams that have already qualified for the Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions, the first one ever here on Stars and Strikes Doubles, and one of these 2 teams in this hour will join them. Gary Carrington and Jack Ray with that big 448, Mike Morrill and Jack Quinn at 412, then down to Phil Clough and Tom O'Brien at 381, and Mike Morgan and Paul St. Pierre with 373. 2 spots still open, 2 teams still available to go in. And one of these teams will go, and then we'll start our next series next week, and we'll get our final team in. And then remember, the Tournament of Champions begin on April the 19th at 12 noon, both shows, singles and doubles. Norm Bourque now to start game number 2. Norm and his partner Ed Emerson scuffling a little bit in that first game. They trail by 28.
After leading the first 7. It's strange how that double strike can turn things around.
$7 for Norm. And the 1, 2, 9, and 10, but the wood could make it more interesting.
He's got to concentrate on hitting the head pin. After that, he's got a better than a fair shot of making it.
Turned it over a little bit too much.
Keeps looking down, so he must know he's just releasing a little bit too early. It's a $9. That's not the pin you want to leave standing after 3 balls, that head pin.
Larry Valcourt now. Very smooth delivery, but punched out the half Worcester right. Sounded good until it got down to the pins.
It finishes one of those thuds. You know you're not dropping too many pins.
Playing it inside and not getting much action. Bails out with an 8. Gains a pin and count. Larry Valcourt last week getting his first win here on Stars and Strikes. He and Tim Lipke rolling the 401. Larry had been 0-2 in his previous singles appearances here.
2-4-7 on the left with 3-6 and a piece of wood behind the 6 pin. Very difficult shot.
Nope. Oh, and a 7. Larry took a little extra time, it appeared, to settle himself down after that second ball. Well, I guess if you're Norm Bourque and Ed Emerson, you roll 16 in the first 2 and you gain a pin.
Got to be a little fortunate.
Yep.
Triangle, 3-5-6 for Ed.
No, he's right on it, yes. Mark number 4 for the team, but their first mark since the 4th box of the first game. On the fill, big strike.
No doubt about that one. Just buried that one in the 1-3 pocket. Good view of Ed's ball from back here, breaking sharply at the end, but right dead in the 1-3 pocket.
That roll-off score of Tim Lipke's by 1 pin. The best in this series. Norm Bourque had a 7-19. And they were far ahead of the rest of the field. Tim leaves the 10 pin. And a 10 box. So 11 pins of the lead is gone, are gone. And if Tim opens here, even more of it will go. Tim's off target. Tim mentioned at the end of last week's show that he'd been having trouble with the head pin lately.
Looks like he might have talked himself into it. 1, 4, and 10. 2-pin toppled over. It's on a head pin this time. It's not going to work for him. So as you said, he's going to be open in this frame. And after the break, the team of Bourque and Emerson will have a chance to cut into that lead some more.
That'll be a lob. So that is an 8 box for Tim Lipke. So it'll be 33 through 4 for the team of Lipke and Valcourt. A strike up for Bourque and Emerson in the 4th, and they will cut further into the lead when we come back. Well, we're at the halfway point just about of this championship match, and a very critical point it is. Norm Bourque steps up working on a strike.
They're all important, but you're right. This time of the match, being down by 28 at the start of this game, are climbing back into it, working on a strike.
Norm can still salvage this with the second ball. Ooh, but he loses it out to the right. It'll be a 5 box. A 5 fill, rather. Still, though, the lead is down to 10. It had been 28 coming in. And Norm sets himself up for a spare leave, the 1-3.
Sliding by on the left, but he got some good pin action. Just leaves those 2 pins. I would like nothing better to put it up there for his partner, Ed Emerson.
And he does. Making no mistake there. He was right on it, perfectly in between. Mark number 6 for the team. And now Larry Valcourt.
This team still looking for their first mark the second game.
Big hit, that first ball. Leaves the 4-pin.
Chance to grab a little momentum back by covering this 4-pin for a spare.
Right on top of it. First mark in this game for the team of Lipke and Valcourt, 5th overall. And they lead in the match. Ooh, Larry almost got caught with the half Worcester again. Takes 4 on the fill.
I mean, moves the 4-pin off the spot, but doesn't go down. So he's looking at the 1, 2, 4, 8, and of course the 6 and 10.
Well, a chance right now for Ed Emerson to cut this lead into single digits as he comes up working on a spare. And he does with a strike.
Another strike. Oh. Last 2 balls he's thrown were strikes. This time picks on the 1-2 pocket. Looks like the 6 and the 8 are going to stand up. They both kind of fall together, looking for the double. And it's that close.
A 4-pin. Well, the lead is down to 7 right now for Lipke and Valcourt. Spare it up. That's 3 marks in a row. All of a sudden, the team of Bourque and Emerson are heating it up a bit, threatening to take the lead if Tim Lipke doesn't do anything here. Very smooth delivery, and I think Tim had a feeling that was going to be bad news. He hit the head pin head on.
Threw his arms out like, uh-oh. And you're right through the middle. Cluster of 5 in the right-hand corner plus the 4-7.
And Tim will take, let's see, a 7? Yes, a 7 box.
64 through 7. So all of a sudden they've gone ice cold.
And the lead has in fact turned to Bourque and Emerson by 6. Better first ball that time for Tim. Leaves the 6-10 in the corner. And there's the spare. That's a nice spare right there to stop the bleeding a little bit for the team.
Norm Bourque is going to see if he can keep the string alive. Working on a string of 3 marks right now. 5 for this game. 3 spares and 2 strikes.
Oh, Norm is right in the pocket. Strike on spare again.
Going up by the 10s.
20 pins in each of the last 3 boxes now.
He picks on the 1-2 pocket. 8 and 9, last 2 to go. Looking for the double strike. Looks pretty good.
Oh, it is pretty good. Yes, for the double
there it
strike.
is.
Oh, bye. That's 5 marks in a row now.
And that very easily could have been 4 strikes in a row because Ed threw a solid 9-pin drop on the other side of his strike. Left just the 4-pin, came back and spared it up, and now Norm has thrown 2 strikes.
This is going to be a huge second game. Looking for the triple, a little light. Takes 7. 162 plus this ball. And he loses it through the middle, but 162 is not bad for Norm Bourque and Ed Emerson. 7 marks in the last 8 boxes of that game.
Larry Valcourt working on a spare. I try to keep pace a little bit anyways. Remember they came in by leading by 28. And he comes right back in the pocket and wow. 5, 7, 9.
That was on a spare.
Try to cut the 5-pin into the 7. Hopefully the ball will take the 9.
Bourque and Emerson with 44 pins in the last 2 boxes, thanks to that double strike.
And 102 in the last 5. 104 the last 5.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
104 in 5 boxes.
That's a pretty good game, let alone 5 boxes.
They went spare, strike, strike to finish that game. And they have taken a 28-pin deficit and turned it just about completely around. And Larry Valcourt looking for a carry on the 5-pin. He'll have to convert it for a spare. He's got it, and that could be important because this will leave the lead under 30 if Larry can get a sizable enough fill.
Reminds me of the match between Al Bolduc and Reggie DeLine when Reggie opened up with that big game and a big lead. Now actually came back and took the lead in that match. Same thing is happening here.
A 6 fill for Larry, a 106, a 2-string total 239. But that trails Bourque and Emerson with a 267, so the lead is 28. Bourque and Emerson come from 28 down to take a 28-pin lead going into the third game. We'll be back with that third and deciding game in a minute. Here we go, third and deciding game of this doubles championship match, and this thing is turned completely around.
Strange how it goes. Opening game of 133 to 105 in favor of Lipke and Valcourt. Second game, that's a 28-pin advantage for them. And second game, if you just join us, 106 to 162 in favor of Bourque and Emerson. A 56-pin advantage, so the 28-pin lead now is switched on to the Emerson and Bourque side.
And Tim Lipke started the string with a half Worcester. On top of that, on the head pin, full this time.
Well, he's got the 2-pin, he's got the 7, he's got the 9, he's got them scattered all over the place.
He's got too many.
Really.
I'm sure for Tim's liking.
He's going to go after the 2. And after that, he's going to need some help with the 2-pin and the ball. Oh, 2 flush on the 2. So 2 open frames.
Well, we'll be keeping one eye on the lead and one eye on the total as we move through this third game. Ed Emerson will lead it off for his team in the third. Remember, each team has the option to pick who they'd like to lead off, and I guess
that strategy worked.
They made the right choice.
Although you're telling a guy that just threw a double strike, I'm starting. But both of the bowlers have been bowling well that second game, and he's right back in the pocket again. This time the 5 and the 9, and a tough piece of wood out in front. And you can see Eddie taking a look at it. Just got to go left-hand tip, and even then there's no guarantees. Give it a heck of a try, though.
That's 4 strikes, rather 5 strikes for the team of Bourque and Emerson, and they've had all 5 of them in the last 8 boxes. 28 opening pair, that adds 11 more to the lead, so it's now 39. Larry Valcourt will try and get something started. $800 to the winners, $400 to the runners-up. Larry is right on target, leaves the 3-6, and everything else went into the pit.
Kind of lonely down there, those 2 pins. Even more so when you're 40 down. Start with some offense right here. Oh boy. It's not the way it goes sometimes, though. Hit the object pin, drove it straight back, left the 6.
Larry moves over to lane 31 here at Park Place.
Just to run down those scores that Doug alluded to just a few minutes ago. It's 448 at the top, 412, 381, and 373.
And since our lead team, Bourque and Emerson, had a 267 through 2, it would seem that those last couple of scores, at least, are certainly in jeopardy. Larry Valcourt moved the 5-pin, I'd say about 2 inches.
It may help him when converting the 10. He's going to go right at the wood in front of the 4 and 7 and clip the wood behind the 5 and snap it. Nope, threw the pin up and over that wood. So it's going to be 2 open frames again.
And it's an 8 box. Norm Bourque will step up now. On the head pin, a little full this time. 4, 6, 7 with wood.
See where the wood settles down. Probably try right where the two pieces of wood seem to meet. But he's going to have a tough time carrying the 7. Oh, that ball came in between the 4 and the 7.
Well, we've talked about this before. There are 12 inches between all the pins. It doesn't look like it from the foul line.
And he used all of them just then.
Yes. $10. There's the situation, a 40-pin lead for Bourque and Emerson. And they could add to it if Norm hangs a mark up here in the 4th.
$5-9.
And that'll be a $9.
A little scoring correction there.
Self-correcting. Look at that. 47 through 4 for Bourque and Emerson. 35 through 4 for Lipke and Valcourt. It was a 9 in the second box for Lipke and Valcourt. So it is a 40-pin advantage with 6 frames to go to the championship. And we'll be back in a minute. Well, here's a guy who's certainly capable of throwing strikes in bunches. So,
well, he's got 4 boxes left. 6 total for the team.
And that close. 5-pin.
Oh.
Watch out for the wood.
The second piece is going to help him. Well, maybe. Not so sure anymore. I would still try to go right between the 2 pieces of wood, and hopefully they'll keep the ball in play and drive right straight through. Yeah.
Oh, very nicely. Very nicely done. Avoiding the left piece of wood somehow. I didn't think he'd be able to get by without covering the pin.
Well, there's one mark. He's got to continually mark and get big fills. Boy, and this is going to be a tough one. The 4, 8, and 10, no wood. You just got to shoot like the 7-pin was up and clip the 4-pin on the left-hand side and try to jump it across.
Ooh, gave it a chance.
He went right at it trying to bounce something off the left sidewall.
$9, 61 through 6. And Ed Emerson comes up now. With the lead, opposite of Mark, and he'll have a shot at one himself.
The 5-8. A lot of 5-8s and 5-9s left for spares.
No, he's right on it.
Ed's going to put up a whole new style of TV bowling. No warm-ups.
May start a trend. 6 on the spare.
But he does do a lot of practicing during the week.
Yes, he actually did warm up on the other side here at Park Place Lanes prior to coming over when we began the show, but he did not warm up at all on the TV pair. The only ball he threw in the TV pair was that ball at the beginning where we show you both bowlers in slow motion. So it's still a 40-pin lead with 4 frames remaining now.
Ed had a great line for that too. He said, when I throw my $9, I want it to count.
Larry Valcourt now. Well, he somehow drops 8. The 1-2.
Still room, but got to definitely mark out. And they may need a double strike someplace in there. Whoa.
Ooh. Ten. Well, looking at the other side, Bourque and Emerson, if they go the rest of the way without marking, the highest score they can get is 380, which would already put them ahead of Mike Morgan and Paul St. Pierre and just one pin behind Phil Clough and Tom O'Brien. So still those last two scores appear to be in jeopardy.
And with a couple marks, that 412 is right there. So
Yep. Well,
their thinking may just shift from the match now to a score. They have 4 frames remaining, and I dare say that they have a comfortable lead.
couple of 10s for Larry Valcourt. Nice shot right there. Keeping his concentration and converting the 3, 5, 6, or rather the 3, 6, 8, and 10. Norm Bourque for his final 2.
Oh, that ball was right in there.
Yeah, he lofted that one out there pretty well, too.
Everything but the 5 pin.
No, he slipped by.
They got to be thinking about the scores right now.
Yeah, because the match is
yes,
certainly well in hand at this point.
and it's interesting with that tournament champions on the line, the qualification, because even though a match can be out of hand here, as this one is, the score definitely means something. So each box is still very important to the bowler.
Just
Oh, boy.
clipping the head
Can you
pin.
imagine?
Just clipped the head pin, and wouldn't that have looked good on a spare?
Well, you know, you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking. But you know, every time when I'm bowling and I miss a single pin, I always say to myself, now watch. I'm either going to get an 8 or 9 or a strike, because it's going to make me feel real bad about missing the single for the spare.
Tim Lipke now, final 2 boxes. Since Tim Lipke threw the second of that double strike in the first game late, the team has not been able to put 2 marks together.
You see him just driving the ball straight through for the 4-7. The wood takes the 5. He's going to bowl it out now, and all eyes will be on Ed Emerson as he finishes the game for his team. They're at 113 clip right now. That'll give them 380, but they are working on the strike. So it does look like they'll pass those other 2 scores, the low scores of 373, or low scores, the 2 low scores. I don't mean they're that low, but 373 and 381. Still need another mark 2 for the 412.
Now, wouldn't you know, Tim finishes up with a couple of marks and a 6 fill. It'll be a 115 and a 354. So the match is already decided. It's just a question now of where the team of Emerson and Bourque are going to fit into this Tournament of Champions picture right now. This is on a strike. They would need a 145 to catch Mike Morrill and Jack Quinn, and that appears to be out of reach at this point.
Yeah, they really need to keep the string alive. Yeah, at least have a mark on that box.
So right now it's 378, which means that their position is pretty much locked in. They need 4 pins to get by the bottom 2 teams. They cannot get by the second team, and there it is. So right now the team of Bourque and Emerson will slide in there in the number 3 spot. And so the worst they can finish is 4th, as we only have 1 more team to qualify. And there is a 9 box, a 120, and a 387 for the team of Norm Bourque and Ed Emerson. Congratulations all around, as Norm and Ed will move into the Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions, and we'll set up next week for you in a minute.
And welcome back to Park Place Lanes. Another doubles championship is in the books, and we'll take a full look at the Tournament of Champions in the doubles side and give you a full idea of what it looks like in just a minute. But first of all, let's talk to all the bowlers. First of all, let's bring up Larry Valcourt and Tim Lipke. Come on up, guys. A big win last week with a 401. This week, not quite as fortunate, but we do have the second place money for you to share, the $400 second prize. And oh, they were tough. That second game, they turned things around on you and didn't give you a chance to breathe.
Well, you spelled Norman's name wrong. We want to bowl over again, you know, just to have another chance at it. But no, the second game really hurt us. We had it. We came out of the gate real good, and when you start throwing spares and strikes like they were in the second string, you got to match them or you're in trouble.
It's strange, Larry, too. We talked about this before about how both guys can seem to get going at once, and also both guys can go cold at the same time, too.
Well, it happens sometimes. You know, it takes just a very little bit to make it go one way or the other. Yep. You know, you get up on the head pin, or you're not quite to the head pin. It's just, you know, just one of those things.
Well, as I'm sure you're both well aware, there's one series left in each for the doubles and the singles competition, so still an opportunity for you to get into the Tournament of Champions. We'll wish you well and hope to see you again real soon.
Thank you. Hope to be back again.
All right. Tim Lipke and Larry Valcourt, thanks very much. And now let's bring up Norm Bourque and Ed Emerson, our champions, who brought a lot of fans with them here to Park Place. Ed, there's a check for you, and Norm, here's one. Yeah, with the name spelled right and everything else. Congratulations. Congratulations, and boy, that was a great way to turn this around in the second game. What changed? Everything started to click all of a sudden.
Well, I don't know about Norm, but I just moved a couple of boards because I wasn't hitting the head pin exactly right, so I just moved a couple of boards and they fell.
How about you, Norm? Did you make a change at all, too, after that first game?
Well, I had a couple bad checks, and Eddie had told me I was dropping my shoulder, and my ball kept going to the right, and I think that helped. You know, when I did hit the head pin, I got a few strikes, and we strung a few together. So
a little bit of coaching goes on during the match, huh?
Can't bowl, might as well coach.
Well, congratulations. That means that we're going to be seeing you a little bit later on in the spring in the doubles Tournament of Champions. As I'm sure you know, your score 387 puts you third right now, so the worst off you could be is fourth. And we'll be seeing you in the spring to see how you fare in that. Congratulations.
Thank you. We'll be ready.
All right. Thanks very much, guys. Congratulations. Ed Emerson and Norm Bourque with the win. And now let's take a look at that Tournament of Champions ladder and see exactly what it looks like right now with the updated score. Norm Bourque and Ed Emerson at 387, so they're right in the middle of that group that's there so far, the 5 teams already in place. And next week we will begin the process of getting our final team for the Tournament of Champions.
Yeah, they're a welcome addition, and it's going to be exciting. You know, one ladder left, and we'll be into that Tournament of Champions before we know it.
In fact, next week we will begin both of our final series here on Stars and Strikes, our final regular series of the 91-92 season. It all begins at 12 noon. We'll have 5 new bowlers on singles, and then, of course, 5 new teams here on Stars and Strikes doubles next Sunday at 1 o'clock. We hope you'll join us for the full 2 hours here on the Winds. Until then, for my partner Dan Murphy and the whole TV50 Sports crew, I'm Doug Brown. So long from Park Place Lanes.